Hi everyone, I'm Trish Connor-Cato, and I'd like to welcome you to Microsoft Power BI. We've already created workspaces in previous modules. Now we're going to focus on how to manage them. That will include how to share content, including reports and dashboards, and how to distribute an app. You'll also learn how to assign dataset roles to your workspaces and the data that's in it. We have 3 lessons in this module: sharing and managing assets, mapping security principles to dataset roles, and publishing an app. We're going to be conducting this module in the service, so go ahead and get yourself in the service. We're going to get started by sharing assets. By assets, I mean dashboards or reports. So I'm already back on my supplier quality analysis sample dashboard. And right up at the top, I'm going to click on Share. And it opens the Share Dashboard dialog. You can enter multiple email addresses in here, or you can enter groups in here. And the thing about it is, if you use an email that's outside of your organization, none of those recipients would be able to reshare the dashboard. So usually before I put in email address or addresses, I check the settings. These are the defaults. So by default, recipients would be able to reshare your dashboard. If you want someone to not be able to do that, uncheck the box. They can also build content with the data set associated with this dashboard. And the other option is to send an email notification. So again, if you use an email address outside of your organization, recipients would not be able to reshare your dashboard. Make your choices with the checkbox. Go ahead and enter an email address and click the Grant Access button at the bottom. You'll get a pop-up that says Success Access has been granted. Now, what else can we do with this? Let's say you accidentally gave someone privileges to reshare your dashboard and you want to revoke those privileges. You simply go back to Share, and in the upper right-hand corner, you'll see the More Options ellipsis. Go ahead and click it. From here, you can manage permissions, which we're going to do in a second, or you can copy a dashboard link that you want to send to someone else. Go ahead and click Manage Permissions. So this will show you a list of everyone that has permissions that you shared your dashboard with. And in the lower right-hand corner, go ahead and click the Advanced link. I've blocked out the email addresses for privacy reasons, but on the left side, you'll see the related content that was shared. So if you expand reports, you'll see any reports that went along with this dashboard. And we gave them access to the underlying data by sharing the data set with them. On the right side of the screen, you'll see yourself as the owner of this dashboard. And you'll see the privileges that you granted the person you shared it with. So the ability to read and reshare. To the right of that is the vertical ellipsis. And when you click on that, you'll see that you can remove just the reshare privilege, or you can remove access totally. I've moved back to my workspace, and now I'm going to show you how you can share a report and the options that go along with it. So I'm hovering over the supplier quality analysis report. This is the Power BI report. Remember, it has the column chart icon versus a paginated report, which has the page icon. So I'm hovering over the Power BI report, and you'll see the share arrow to the right of it. I'm going to go ahead and click that arrow. Very similar to the dashboard. You can enter a name or an email address here, multiple email addresses, or you can enter in groups. You can add an optional message. It defaults to sending a link, and people in your organization with the link can view and share. If you click on that, you can say people with existing access or specific people. And then the settings underneath control what rights they have. They can reshare the report or not. That is a default. And or they can build content with the data associated with the report so they get the data set as well. I'm going to leave it on people in your organization, and I'm going to click apply on this screen. Go ahead and enter an email address, and then you're going to click the send button. Alternatively, you could copy a link, you could access Outlook to share the link, or Teams to do so. I've already cleared the pop-up that let me know the link was successfully shared. And so I'm going to do just like we did with the dashboard. For that report, I'm going to go back to share. And in the upper right-hand corner, I'm going to access more options and go to manage permissions. It shows you who you shared it with, just like the dashboard. You have another opportunity to copy the link up here if you want to distribute it to other people. And just like before, you can click on Advanced in the lower right-hand corner, and you'll see that in my case, this link has been shared with people in my organization, and they have the ability to read and reshare. The related content, just like with the dashboard, is on the side, and you can look through those options. And then just navigate back to your workspace. Another way to distribute a report is to copy it, and you can put it into another workspace and then give access to that workspace. And we're going to do that now. We're going to copy the supplier quality analysis report by going to its More Options button and choosing Save a Copy. The Save a Copy of this report panel opens on the right side. We're going to leave it with the same name, and then you get to select a destination workspace that you have access to. I'm going to go to a workspace called Training Workspace and then choose Save. So it gives me a pop-up where I could go to that report, and I'm going to click Go to Report on the pop-up. And notice at the top it tells me I'm in the Training Workspace. So now if I wanted to give someone else or other people access to this workspace, this is how you do that. You have to go to your Workspaces option on your navigation bar, and you're going to hover over the workspace that you want to give somebody access to. In this case, it's my Training Workspace, and I'm going to go to the More button to the right of it, and I'm going to choose Workspace Access. Here, you have different roles that you can assign. And before we assign anything, let's review those roles. There are 4 roles that you can use: admin, member, contribute, and viewer. I have several tables here that show you the capabilities for each of these roles. So members can add members with lower permissions. They can publish, unpublish, and change app permissions. Notice everything else on this screen, only the admin can do. And again, you'll have a copy of this PowerPoint in the video description, so you can go over these capabilities by these 4 roles at your leisure. So now admins and members can update apps, share items in apps, allow others to reshare. They can feature apps on colleagues' home pages if they have permissions to do so, and manage dataset permissions. Contributors can only do these 2 items if allowed, and the viewer can only perform this item if they're allowed. So again, I would say that you can spend some time at your leisure going through this table about the capabilities for the workspace roles in Power BI. There's also a link where it says add admins, members, or contributors, where you can learn more about those roles. So on this screen, you're going to enter an email address. You're going to choose the level that they have, and then you're going to do the add button and close this screen. Go ahead and perform that. And then check out the actions ellipsis to the right of each user and look at the options there. You can change their permission level from that actions button, and you can also remove somebody. Once you're done reviewing that, go ahead and close the panel. The last lesson in this module is how to create and publish an app. An app it can be configured with multiple dashboards and multiple reports, as you'll see. I want to go back to my Power BI video workspace. So I'm going to use my Workspaces icon on the navigation pane and get back to Power BI video. When I scroll across in this workspace, I'll see that dashboards and reports have include an app column, and they all default to yes. So when I want to create an app, it won't include a data set, just dashboards and reports. In the upper right hand corner, you can go ahead and click on Create App. And so everything, if you do it like this, everything that is toggled to be in an app will be in this app. So what you want to do first before going in here is you want to untoggle the things that you don't want to be in the app, the dashboards and reports. So we're going to cancel this screen. And on your workspace screen, you're going to scroll to the right. The only thing that we want to put in our app is the supplier quality analysis data. So for everything other than that, I'm going to untoggle this include an app. I'm going to switch these to no. And I'm going to keep scrolling down and make sure that I get everything that I want in here. So there's my supplier quality analysis. It's doing both reports, the paginated report and the Power BI report, and it has the dashboard selected. So I'm going to leave those three on yes. And now I'm going to go back into create an app. And my app name is going to be supplier quality analysis. Description, I'll just put includes a dashboard report and a paginated report. You could put a site in here where your users can find help. For something like this, I might put in a Microsoft site about creating an app, and you could do that through a URL if you want. You can upload a logo for your app. You can give your app a theme color. And in contact information, I usually have show app publisher to default, but you can show item contacts from the workspace or specific individuals or groups. Up at the top, there are two other tabs. There's a navigation tab. It shows you the dashboard link, right? If you want to change the order of things that are going to be in the app, you can do that on the left side. If you get to this point and you decide that you don't want to show something in the app, you can hide it here. There's an advanced section where you can give it the default navigation width. And then there's a permissions tab where you can give access to your entire organization or specific individuals or group. So I'll have you enter an email address there when we're almost done with this. Everything that people that have the app can do is these check marks there. So they can connect to the app's underlying data sets using the build permission if you want them to. They can make copies of the reports in the app. And you can also allow them to share the app and the app's underlying data sets. So permissions are permissions. This is very similar to the dashboard and report permissions. You can also have it install this app automatically for those who have permission when they select it, or they can install it themselves. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and put in an email address, and then I'm going to click the Publish App button. When you click Publish App, it lets you know that it can take within 5 to 10 minutes or up to a day. And then it published, so it didn't take that long, and I can go to the app from that screen. So it built my app. And I can see that it included what I wanted it to include. So this is the Power BI report here. And then this one is the paginated report that we created in the previous module. You have some options at the top to file. You have the file drop down so you can edit in Power BI Report Builder because we're on the paginated report. You can view. So these are the same things when we were looking at the paginated report outside of the app. When I go back to the dashboard, I have some of the same features there that you have with other dashboards. And you have a hide the navigation pane here. So if you want to collapse that, right? And then you can expand it again. And at the bottom of it, you can go back. So it takes you back to your home page at this point. On your home page, you have recents, things that have been shared with you, and you have my apps. So if I wanted to get back to that app, I could. I can make the app a favorite, just like we can make different dashboards favorites. And it has a more options button where I can open the app or hide it from this screen. In this module, we focused on workspace collaboration. You learned how to share dashboards and reports. You also learned how to copy a report and put it in another workspace, and then give people permissions to that workspace through workspace roles. We ended up by distributing an app which contained dashboards and reports, and we learned how to toggle off the ones that in the workspace that we don't want to include in the app. The final module in this course is how to manage data sets in Power BI. Specifically, you'll learn how to set parameters and how to use the dataset refresh options. We're going to be using the sample Superstore OD desktop file that was created in Module 2 for these lessons. Our first lesson will involve how to create a parameter. We do that in Power Query Editor. Then we'll publish the file to the service, and we'll learn how to view the parameters and change them from within the service. And then we'll work on how to refresh your data set and then your visualizations. A parameter is really an efficiency feature in Power BI. It serves to easily store and manage a value that can be reused. They give you the flexibility to change the output of your queries depending on their value, and they can be used for changing the argument values for particular transforms, for example, filtering, and data source functions. Also, they can be used as inputs in custom functions. You may want to go ahead and get the sample Superstore OD Power BI desktop file open now. A parameter is really an efficiency feature in Power BI desktop. It's actually in Power Query Editor that you set it up. It serves to easily store and manage a value that can be reused, especially when you're filtering. Parameters give you the flexibility to dynamically change the output of your queries depending on their value, and can be used for changing the argument values for particular transforms like filtering and data source functions, as well as for inputs and custom functions. As mentioned, we set up parameters in Power Query Editor. So on the Home tab of the ribbon in Power BI Desktop, you're going to go ahead and click the Transform Data button to open the Power Query Editor window. A reminder, in here, your queries are on the left side. And on the Home tab of the ribbon in here, you have a Parameters group, and there is the Manage Parameters icon. Go ahead and click that icon. The Manage Parameters box opens, and it's very tiny in here, but we want to create a new parameter, and the new link is right underneath the Manage Parameters heading. So go ahead and click on New. You get to give your parameter a name. So the parameter that we're going to create is going to be a parameter of the regions that are in the orders query. So we're going to just name the parameter regions. We're not going to give it a description. We're going to go down to type, and we're going to select text. For suggested values, we're going to supply a list of values, and you're going to click next to row 1 and type East. When you click right underneath East, it gives you row 2. You're going to type Central. For the next row, you're going to type South. And the following and the last one, we're going to type West. So after you type West, click on the next line, even though we're not going to add anything there. Once you click on the next line, then the previous entry is accepted. So when we go to the default value drop-down, we're going to default it to East, and we're going to use the same for current value. And now we're going to click OK. In your queries pane on the left, you'll see the regions parameter and its default value of East. Notice the difference in icon for a parameter. If you were to click Manage Parameter, it would just open the same dialog box where we created it. So if you needed to change anything, you could do that. What we need to do now is go to the View tab of the ribbon so we can tell Power BI to allow parameters to be used. In the Parameters group, you're going to check Always Allow. And now let's go over to our Orders table and use our parameter. So when we get to Orders, we're going to scroll to the right until we see the region field. And I'm going to show you how to use the parameter that we just created to filter that field. We're going to do the auto filter drop down next to region. And if it says list may be incomplete, reminder, you want to load more so you see everything that's in that list, and we see the regions there. We're going to hover over text filters and choose equals. Where it says keep rows where region equals, in between equals and enter or select a value, you'll see an ABC icon that represents text. We're going to click on that icon, and we're going to choose parameter. And notice it puts the name of our parameter regions in there. So we told it to default to the East region. When we click OK, we'll see that it's now filtered for East. But what's cool about this is once we publish this to the service, we will be able to change it in the service. In order to be able to change a parameter in a service, the data type has to be either text or decimal number. So we're good because all of our regions are the text data type. What we're going to do now is go back to the Home tab and click our Close and Apply button to make sure those changes get down to the desktop. And when we're done with this, we're going to go ahead and click the last button on the Home tab, which is Publish. We're going to republish this to the service. It's going to prompt you to save your changes. And I'm going to put it in my Power BI video workspace. So I've selected that one. It lets you know that we've already published this. So it says, replacing this data set may impact one report and one dashboard. And we're going to click on Replace. And it lets you know when it's successfully finished publishing it to the service. Go ahead and click the link to open Sample Superstore OD in Power BI right from your Success pop-up. It opens in Report View in the service, and what we want to do is go up to More Options and Edit. When we get into the report, we're going to do the plus sign for a new page, and we're not going to select a visualization up front. We're going to expand the Orders table in the Fields pane. And from the Orders table, we're going to want to drag, let's see, what do we want to drag into this? We're going to drag Region directly onto the canvas. When you do that without selecting a visualization, it creates a table visualization. And we see, based on our parameter, that it's showing just the East region, our default region. We're also going to drag sales into the framework of the table. So now we're seeing the total sales for the East region. And we're going to go up to File and save this report. Once the report has been saved, you're going to navigate to your workspace where the report resides. So at this point, we're in the service and we decide that we want to change our parameter. We want to change it from east to west. You can do that in the service. And the way you do that is you're going to hover over the Sample Superstore OD dataset and go to its More Options. And when you select that, you'll see Settings on the list, and you're going to click on Settings. So in Settings, you have a category called Parameters, and you're going to go ahead and open it. And you can see that it's set to our default of the East, which also showed up on the report that we created. This is where it's useful as an efficiency tool. We can change this, so I'm going to just double click East and I'm going to type West. Because it's a text data type, we can change it. We can only change text and decimal number data types in the service for our parameters. Once I change it to West, I'm going to apply. So now it updates and it's set to West. I'm going to go back into my workspace, and I want to go back to the Sample Superstore report, the OD one. And notice it still says East on the report. So what you need to do here is you need to do 2 refreshes. I'm going to go back to my workspace, and I'm going to hover over the Sample Superstore OD dataset, and you'll see the Refresh Now button. I'm going to click it. It's the circular arrow. And then I'm going to go back to the report. And the report is still showing East at this point. And now in the upper right hand corner, close to where your login information is, your profile information, you'll see another circular arrow. This one is to refresh the visuals. So we just updated the data model by refreshing it, by refreshing the data set. Now we're going to click the refresh button for the visual and it changes to West. So that's how it's an efficiency feature. You set it up in Power Query Editor and then you use it in a report in your service after publishing. And then you can go to the settings for the data set and change the parameter as long as it's a text or a decimal number data type. The type of refresh we did is known as an on-demand refresh. We physically click the refresh button for the data set and then for the visualizations. Let's go back to our workspace, and we're going to hover over the Sample Superstore OD dataset again and go back to More Options and back to Settings. You also have the ability to schedule refreshes in Power BI Service. So we're going to scroll down underneath Parameters. We're going to go to Scheduled Refresh, and we're going to toggle it on. So you can change the refresh frequency, daily or weekly. You can say what time you want the refresh to happen. And you can send refresh failure notifications to the dataset owner or these contacts. So some people like to refresh like at noon every day, something like that. Whatever it is you need to do there is what you can set up, so you don't have to physically come in and do a refresh on demand. When your frequency is set to daily, you have the ability to add multiple times, so you can have it refresh daily multiple times a day. I click the Add Another Time link, and I'm going to just do the X button rather, to get rid of the additional time. If you change your refresh frequency to weekly, you'll be able to pick the days of the week that you want it to refresh, and you can have it refresh multiple times a day by adding another time as well there. So instead of doing refreshing on demand, a lot of times for a lot of your data sets, you're going to want to refresh them, once or twice a day, perhaps, depending on how active that data is. Let's go back to our workspace so I can take you back to something that was originally covered in Module 2. Hover over Sample Superstore dataset, not the OD one, just the plain Sample Superstore one, and go to its More Options button and go to Settings. If we go down to Scheduled Refresh here, we cannot schedule a refresh. This is the data set that we created from the locally stored Excel file. And remember, you can't refresh a locally stored file. It has to be stored in the cloud. That's why the OD one that represented OneDrive when we created it in Module 2, it's a Excel file that's stored in Office 365, Excel Online. So that one will allow a scheduled refresh. This one won't because it's locally stored. So just like at the desktop level, you can't really refresh the locally stored data. You would have to re-import it into Power BI Desktop. And then if you make changes in the desktop, you would have to republish it to the service. That's the only way to get it refreshed. So in this final module, you learned about parameters, created them, and you also learned how to change them in the service. You learned how to manage your data sets in terms of looking at how to refresh them, and we did a refresh on demand. And you also learned that you can schedule a refresh for anything but a locally stored Excel file in the service. I have a last challenge exercise for you that you can complete on your own. We've spent some time building visualizations in the Sales and Marketing Sample PBIX file. And for your challenge, go ahead and publish this file to the service, create another workspace in the service first, and then publish the file to your new workspace. Give it a theme, maybe do some quick insights or add Q&A to it, even a video if you'd like. That will be your final challenge. Thank you for attending this video course on Power BI. I'm Trish Connor-Cato, and as a reminder, all of the files and additional documentation are in the video description below.